All right, let's start modeling Spike. Let's do this. So we brought in all our electronic components. We're ready to start modeling. So now let's navigate back to our master file. So if you left click this and then you right click, just open part. So let's start modeling. So we have our planes here. We're gonna start with making the head of the design, right? So you can show these if you want, and then click this to toggle them on and off. We're going to make a sketch. Also, if you don't have these toolbars, you can right click here and click toolbars, and then you could make sure you can make yours look like mine if you wanted, or like enable any of these that you want. So we're going to click sketch, and then we're going to make a sketch on the right plane, and then SolidWorks will sort of snap to that view. If it didn't snap to that view, you can go to here and then click right plane, or you could like go another shortcut is if you go like approximately close to the right plane and then you press Control 8, then it'll snap to that. So let's start by building our design. So the dragon head is a little bit of like an organic shape to make for beginners, but if you follow along with me, I'll show you how to make it. I've sort of streamlined it down to like a simple process that is like a few features, but I think it looks pretty good. So we're going to start by making a couple lines here. So we're going to make one vertical line, a horizontal line, a vertical line, and then this angled one that sort of like finishes the shape. And what we're going to do next is start dimensioning things. So the way that you dimension things is with smart dimension. And once again, I don't know if this is a shortcut by default, but mine is D. If you need to make that a default, I already showed you how, but you go to Tools, scroll down, Customize, then you go to Keyboard, and then you search Smart Dimension, and then you can see that mine's already D, but you would click this box and then type whatever key you wanted. So we're going to press D on our keyboard. We're going to make this 10. We're going to make this 40. I'm going to hide my planes for now because we got the origin that I want to reference to. So we're going to click this bottom line, and then we're going to click the origin. And this is going to be 30 from the bottom. And then one thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we're like touching back to the origin. We're going to make a vertical line, right? And then I'm going to left click this, and the vertical line is the bottom point on the vertical line is attached to the origin. We're going to left click this, make this construction geometry. So now, once again, this is a line that is in our sketch that we can like use to build our sketch, but SolidWorks isn't going to think that it's like an actual solid line that's like going into our model. So now I'm going to press this point, and then I'm holding control, and I'm going to press this point. I'm going to click merge, and now they're on top of each other, and this line is right on top of coming off of this vertical line on the origin. And then we need one more dimension here. So basically, if you see a black line, that means that SolidWorks is trying to tell you that whatever that geometry is, you've fully defined it, right? You've told SolidWorks what the distance or angle or whatever relationship it has to be to like exist in space and fully define it. And then a blue line means you can like there's something that you can adjust here. So the thing that I think we're missing is an angle. So I'm going to press D, click this line, and let's make this 110. Okay. So now we have our sketch, and we need to extrude this out, right? So then we go to Features, Extrude. And I spoke a little bit about this before, but now we're adding thickness to our sketch, right? We're going from 2D sketch to 3D feature that exists in 3D space. And if you click this dialog box, there's a couple of ways that you can do that. Blind just means like one direction, a certain distance, and we could drag this arrow out as much as we wanted. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to use midplane. So midplane just means instead of pushing out in one direction, it's pushing out in both directions in equal amount. So we're going to do 60 here. and just follow along. This is uh, like a process that I know that is going to work. Okay, so now basically what we're doing is we're trying to build like the nose shape of our dragon. But instead of it being like super boxy, we kind of want the nose to come to like a point. So we're going to use a feature called chamfer. So chamfer is super useful for adding. It's like a bevel, right? So like instead of a corner being sharp, you add like an angle to the corner. So the way that we're gonna do that is with the chamfer. But one piece of information we're gonna need is basically we want this chamfer to ride along this entire edge. So in order for that to look clean, you need to know the distance of this edge. And you could go back to your sketch and look and see that it's 40. But if you wanted a quick way to do that, you could use the measure tool. So anywhere in 3D space, you can measure something in SolidWorks. So the way that you do that is if you go to evaluate, and once again, if you don't have the toolbar for evaluate, you right click in this ribbon bar, toolbars, where is it? Oh, okay. So you right click toolbar, go to tabs, and then you go to evaluate, make sure that's checked, and measure is right here. And once again, I'm not sure if this is default or just something that I've made, but I've made my measure M. So I'm going to press M here, and then I'm going to click this edge. All right, so now we have a very quick way of telling like what a distance is or what a length is or anything or an angle in 3D space using the measuring tool. So right now, it's going to tell us that this is 40. And if this is a cool thing that I like in SolidWorks that not every software has, if you could just hover over this number and then it like highlights it in blue, and it's telling me if you click, it's going to copy it. So you just left clicked once, and then now that's copied to our clipboard, that value of 40. So now we're going to do a chamfer. All right, so we know that value is 40. So chamfer is below fillet. You just have to click this little arrow. And then we're going to type in 40 here. Just going to press Control V because it's on my clipboard. And I want this edge. Boom. But that's a little too steep of an angle. So we're going to change 45 to 15. But that's the wrong direction. We want to go the other way. So we got to press flip direction. And we also want to do this side. So we got to click that edge. This one's going the wrong way. So now we got to click flip direction again. And boom. Then we press OK. So now in only 2 features, we've created this like nose looking shape of the dragon. And we've created it in 3D space using the boss extrude. And then we've also like added a chamfer or like a beveled edge into the nose. So it's like angling. It's getting smaller like the more forward that it goes, right? And also this little bar is really cool. Basically, you can roll back. It's called roll back. So like if you drag it above a feature, it'll pretend that feature like temporarily doesn't exist. So you can like trace back your steps in your history to like see what's going on in your model. It's super useful. I use it all the time. Okay, so now we're going to use the shell command. It's right here. I also always forget where that is for some reason. So I'm just going to use the search. Another way to do that. So the thing that shell does is, hold on, I'll show you another thing that's cool. So section view. Section view means pretend you got like a slice of pie and you're literally just like cutting it down the middle and you're having a look at like if you cut it down the middle, what does that look like at the cross section of what you're cutting? So you need to like basically tell SolidWorks where you want to cut. So this is about the front plane. This is about the top plane. We want to cut about the right plane. So if you take a section of this, right? So now it's like we're cutting the pie in half. We're looking at like what the insides look like. That's this button right here, section view. And you could toggle that back and forth. But you can see that this is a solid piece. So we don't want that right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to press shell. So the way that shell works is if you press shell, you can define like a wall thickness. So a good rule of thumb for 3D printed parts is if you want a wall that's like standing by itself to be solid, basically the minimum that I'll ever go is 3 millimeters. 3 millimeters will make a strong wall that stands by itself, and it's sort of like the minimum amount of thickness of material to stand by itself. So I use 3 millimeters, and then if you click on a face, it'll get rid of those faces. So we're going to click the bottom one and this back one. And let's just press OK, and you'll see what happens. So it'll create a thickness all the way around of whatever your part is while getting rid of the two faces that you clicked. And then if you press the measure tool, you can check. And so that's cutting at an angle, so that's not accurate. But like if you did measure from here to here, I don't know why that's happening, but basically it's pretty close to 3. But it's taking away material all on the inside, basically hollowing it out, and it's keeping it like an outside perimeter of material of whatever you define, and we defined it to be 3 millimeters. All right, so I'm going to press Control S and just save that. All right, so if you imagine that this is sort of like the nose of the dragon, now we're going to build like the head part of it. So if you press Sketch, and then you go to the right plane, we're going to create a spline for the head, and it's going to start on this top point. So if we go like boom, 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 and then to cancel out of the spline, you press Escape. Something like this. And then what we can do is if you click your spline and then you hold Control and you click this edge and we say tangent, now these two lines are like going in the same direction, basically. So let's clean this up a little bit. All right, so now we're going to swing around. And I want a line on our plane that is it's going from this line to this line. So an easy way to do that is convert entities works if like you have a plane that's on the same plane, or if you have lines that are like in the same direction as the plane that you're working on. So for instance, if I wanted to take all of these lines, you could press this and it'll bring all of those lines forward to the sketch that I'm working on. That's not what I want, really. I want a line from this edge to this edge. So the way that you do that is intersection curve. So it's going to take any material that you pick and it's going to think about how that intersects with the plane that you're working on, and then it'll give you a line. So if you click this face and then press enter, we get the line that we want, right? So I'm going to snap back here, Control 8, and then I'm going to make a vertical line. We're going to make a horizontal line, bring it up here, and then close this off. And then we're going to dimension this bottom line to be 79.5. Boom. Okay, and then we're going to extrude this. So we're going to do the same thing as before. We'll do midplane, and this time we'll make it 100. And right now we're going to uncheck merge result. Basically what that would do is like connect whatever solid body we're about to make to our nose feature, which we'll do later. But for now, let's just uncheck it. All right, I know this looks nothing like a dragon, but just trust me, it's going to work out. So Control S, save that. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is, so we have this like weird shape and like extra material that's sticking off the top here. And I want to sort of like, I want to have that like follow this angle that we made with our chamfer. So we're going to create a sketch, a new sketch on the top plane. And then we're going to press convert entities and we're going to bring this line forward, right? Press enter. And then I'm going to press L for my line and I'm going to make a new line and just try and like match the same angle that it's at and just have it extend past like the entire body. And then if you click this line, hold Control, click this line. If you press collinear, that's going to make the two lines like slope at the same angle basically. And then let's close this shape off. It doesn't matter what this is. Basically, we're trying to cut off this extra material that's like within this boundary that we've made. So in order to not do this work twice, save us some time, we're going to create a center line, make that go up, turn into construction geometry, and then we're going to drag a box around the shape that we've already made. and then we're going to press mirror entities. And then we have to tell SolidWorks which, so these are the 4 lines we want to mirror, right? Or 5 lines, whatever. And then we have to tell it what we're mirroring about. What's the center line? So then we click this line and then press OK. And boom, it's created an exact copy of what we want here. So then you press extrude cut. And so we're sort of below where we want to be, right? So we got to reverse the direction by clicking this arrow. And then you could press blind and then like type in a value or bring it up as far as possible to like get rid of the material. I just like pressing through all, it'll do the work for you and basically cut everything that it sees in one direction. So click OK. Okay, so now we're getting some sort of like skull shape or close to it. All right, so we're gonna like do some trimming again. So we're gonna do a sketch on the top plane, but this is for the back portion. You may have been able to just do this in one sketch, but I like sort of separating things out. Okay, so what we're gonna do is make a line, and this line is gonna go from the midpoint here to here, make a horizontal line over, and then the midpoint to here. And then we're gonna define this, press D for smart dimension, click this line, and then I'll like change the angle based on where your mouse is. Make sure it's like on the inside here. I'm gonna make that 130, whoops, 135. What happened? Okay, and then this is gonna be 135 also on this side. And then we gotta close the shape. So just make any shape on the outside. This doesn't matter as much for dimensions. We just have to like create like a finished shape that closes itself. Something like that. And then we're going to extrude cut this to take away material. We're going to flip it around and press OK. Boom. Okay, we're getting there. All right, so this is starting to look like a head a little bit. Now I want to make a spot for like the horns. All right, so we got a sketch on the front plane again. And we're going to make a vertical line just because I know I'm going to do some mirroring later. And then basically you just want to like trim off a decent chunk. Something like that. You could just do it by eye. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to select all those. Mirror. Whoops. Make sure you switch the dialog box to mirror about. And then check that. And then if we extrude cut this guy through all, boom. We're going to have something like this. So we're going to shell this out. But one thing we want to do is, so if you go to here, you're going to, one of these two is going to be the front nose part. You're going to right click and press hide. And then we're going to shell. Make sure it's on 3 millimeters. Click this front face, this bottom face, and this back face. And then we can show our nose again. All right, so now we have a little bit of like a skull for the dragon. Kind of looks like a duck right now, though. Okay, so now we're going to do something cool. We're going to go back to our assembly file. And boom, now we have geometry to work around with our components. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a section view, cut right down the middle, and we're going to section about the right plane so we can see what's going on. Basically, what we're trying to do here is align the ultrasonic sensor to a position that fits within our skull body. So I'm going to hide these planes just because they're in the way. And then I'm going to snap to the right plane. And now I can like push and pull this ultrasonic sensor up and down. And I want to like bring this up to a position where like eye level could be and make sure that the top isn't bumping it into our plastic part at all. So you see that it has plenty of room from the top. Something like this. Just go all the way around, make sure there's space for everything in there. And then that looks like a pretty good position. So now I like the spot of my ultrasonic sensor. I don't want it to move. So I'm going to press fix. So now even if I wanted to, I couldn't move this. If I like left click this and then press move component, it's not even letting me. I can't move it, which is good. That's what we want. Control S. And then also if you save at the top level assembly, which it'll save everything that below it. So you'll see that my master is also saved. And the way that you can see if something is saved is, let's say I make a change. I don't know. So I just made a change there. Now there's a little asterisk next to my part name at the top. And that just means, hey, there was a change and it hasn't been saved since the last time you saved. So I'm just going to press Control S again. All right, so let's go back to our assembly file. So now we're going to make something that can basically like house or hold on to the ultrasonic sensor so it doesn't move. So the way that we're going to do that is if you press your master, you left click it, and then you press edit component. Now we can work on our master file within the assembly file and start making changes and reference things that are in our assembly to our master. And the way that you know that you're in the assembly file is this is highlighted blue and everything else is sort of transparent. And now this is our work part. This is the master is the part that we're currently working on. Okay, so what we're going to do is make a sketch, and we're going to do the plane that we want to sketch on is this top surface of our ultrasonic sensor. And what you're going to want to do is rotate around, and you want to grab with convert entities the outermost edge or the outermost circle of your ultrasonic sensor. So that would be this edge right here. Nothing's coming up for me, but if I right click and press select other, it'll try and grab all the things that you're close to. So it'll give you a list to pick from. I want this edge and I want this edge from this ultrasonic sensor. So I'm grabbing both of those, press enter. So now that's bringing edges into our model that we can work around. And the last thing that we want is we want the edge around this, like, there's like this, I don't know what this is, but it's like this little centerpiece. We want to do this, select other. So we want this face here. So we're going to select other. This like outer face, that's what we want. Just boom. Okay. So now that we have the edges that we want to work around, it's a little cluttered in here. So sometimes you could do it in here, but I like hopping back and forth between my master just to like make things really clear for me to see. So now I can go into my sketch and it's got those lines that I wanted. So I'm going to select all of these, just like draw a box around all of them, and then press for construction because I'm just going to be referencing them in the sketch that I want. So this outermost circle, these two outermost circles, is the exact line that is on the ultrasonic sensor, like the outermost circle of those two cylinders on the ultrasonic sensor, right? We want to make like basically two tubes that those can fit in. So something to know is that if you want these outermost circles are the outermost edges of the ultrasonic sensor, and we want to build two tubes that basically the ultrasonic sensor can just like slide into, right? So that's the plan. The trick is that we need to build a cylinder that isn't on top of our ultrasonic sensors but go around it. And then there's going to be this little gap here, right? And whatever this gap is, there has to be a small amount of space so that the ultrasonic sensors can slide into the two cylinders. Because if we make them the exact same diameter, they're not going to fit. Like, it should be very close to the same diameter, but slightly larger, so it leaves a little space for your ultrasonic sensor to slide right in. Also, another reason for this is like we can tell the software exactly what we want it to be, but the printer in reality, whenever we go to print this thing, it's not going to print exactly what we want, and that's called tolerance. Basically, our printers aren't perfect. You can tell it like theoretically exactly where you want it to put material, but it's not going to put it exactly there, and that depends on your machine settings, how finely tuned it is. There's all different sorts of variables that affect tolerance, but that's a lesson for another time. Basically, all you need to know is that We have the ultrasonic sensor. We want it to slide into these two tubes and sort of hold it into position in Spike's skull. In order to do that, we need to give a little bit of space around the ultrasonic sensor outermost diameter so that it can like smoothly slide in. So a generic rule is that if you want something to be press fit, which basically just means like it fits like a glove, like super tight into something, then my rule is I use 0.25 millimeters to have that sort of fit. If you want to have two parts that are like moving and sliding along each other, and there's even more space for them to be sliding along each other, I go to 0.5 millimeters of gap. For here, since this is like a bigger part, and I definitely don't want to like print this twice and like take a risk basically on having to like print this multiple times to get it right, I'm going to give plenty of space because the plan is we're going to build these two tubes for the ultrasonic sensor to slide into, and then we're just going to hot glue it in place. So it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to press offset and click these two cylinders, and I'm going to go a little bit above 0.5. I'm going to make mine 0.6. This will give us plenty of room for the ultrasonic sensors, and I'll know for a fact that when I print this, they'll slide in easy. And there'll probably be a little bit of wiggle, but that's fine because we're going to use some hot glue to like secure it into place. Then there's this little center block that we have to avoid. So this is the innermost circle, but we need like thickness to it, right? So then we're going to press offset to these, and this is going to be another wall. So what's the minimum thickness for a wall? 3 millimeters. Boom. But now the issue is we're bumping into this, whatever this piece is. I don't know what it is, but it's in the way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press offset. I'm going to offset away from these two cylinders. Let's go 0.6 again to give us plenty of space. So we basically want two cylinders that our ultrasonic sensor can slide through, but we're also avoiding this like little block that's on the ultrasonic sensor that's going to prevent us from going right up against that flat part of the ultrasonic sensor. So if we press extend on these two parts and then trim these top parts, get rid of all this extra here. Whoops. Here, here, and here. Now we have these two shapes for the ultrasonic sensor to slide in, and we're avoiding this like cylindrical block here. So now we press, we want to add thickness to it. We want to extrude it out. All right, so this looks kind of crazy. What does blind look like? So if we bring this back, basically we want this to run up to whatever this surface is. So that's an option in extrude. So if we go to up to surface, and then we click this surface. Okay, so what happened? Basically, I want to extrude this up to this surface. I click this surface, boom. Rebuild error. The end face cannot terminate the extruded feature. Huh. So why is that happening? This is going to happen all the time. So you guys need to learn how to like figure out what SolidWorks is trying to tell you what the error is, and then problem solve it. So if we look at this from the front view, these are two separate bodies, right? And we're trying to tell this sketch to extrude all the way up to this surface. But if we look at it from the front view, these eyes, this piece of plastic that we're trying to build is dipping below our part. So ideally this bottommost part of the circle should be above the line. So how do we fix that? We need to add a little bit of extra space. So let's go back. Let's roll back and see how we built this. Okay, so we need this to be a little bit higher, right? So if we edit this sketch, what if we drag this? Oh, whoops. What if we drag all these points a bit and change everything slightly to create more space for our ultrasonic sensor? And then we bring all this back down. And then maybe we can go back to our assembly. We'll go back to a section view. we'll float, go back to float so we can move the ultrasonic sensor around. Let's drag this up as much as possible. And then we'll press fix again. And we'll see. Does that fix it? So we press our master, we press edit component. Go back to our sketch, look at the front view. We still didn't make it there. Okay, so let's go back again. Bring this up all of this has to come up a little bit higher. We got to make room for this ultrasonic sensor, right? Bring this up even more. And this up a little bit more. We're almost there. Okay. Go back to our assembly. Look at it from the side. Ooh, now there's plenty of space for that ultrasonic sensor to come up. We'll float the ultrasonic sensor so we can move it. Left click it. Drag it up even more. Fix. We go back, edit our master, look at our sketch. Boom. Okay, now we're above this horizontal line. So you see all the knobs we had to turn and things we had to change, and we did it in a way where if we changed something, none of our model broke, but we were able to like quickly make updates. That's the beauty of parametric modeling. So now let's try what we were doing before. We're gonna extrude, and we're gonna do up to surface to this guy, and boom. Now it's giving me a yellow preview, which it wasn't doing before. So now I know this is going to work for sure. So we'll press extrude. Boom. Now look at that. So if you take a section view, I want to show you guys something. If you take a section view of, here, you know what? Take a section view and then drag it down. And then we'll go right up to it. Look what's happening here. So we have a very small, so if this is the ultrasonic sensor here, we have a very small gap between here and here, which if you measure it, that's 0.6. So we have plenty of space for the ultrasonic sensor to slide into these tubes, even with, if your printer is going to be a little bit off, or maybe there's some extra plastic or support there, we should be able to fit in quite smooth. And another thing is, if you take another section view is great for these like tight little areas because you can see what's going on. From the front view, and you slide all the way up, you can see that we're also dodging this block here on the ultrasonic sensor. Boom. We're bumping into these little solder pads, whatever those are, but that's fine.